And thanks to Apollo today, NVIDIA now has the biggest weight on the S&P of any individual name going back to when data began in '81.
Yes, so like 8%-ish or more of the S&P 500. It's pretty much, you kind of run out of superlatives in terms of the concentration among whether it's the top 4 or 6 stocks. It's interesting, too, with NVIDIA because, you know, a lot of the kind of rationalization of that in the past has been, well, I mean, look, Amazon is really, you know, 10 big cap companies in one, and just because it's all under one, you know, corporate umbrella doesn't necessarily mean the overall market or the economy is more concentrated. NVIDIA is not like that. I mean, NVIDIA is kind of like essentially a couple product line, you know, pure play company, and yet it's going to have $250 billion in revenue in the next fiscal year. At least that's what the estimates say, and there's just nowhere else to put it. It's now getting a little pricey because it's one of the more highly valued, biggest market cap companies we've had in the last quarter century. So I don't know what to make of it.
$250 billion in revenue, and we're talking approaching a $4.5 trillion market cap. Yeah. Not quite, but not far off.
Yeah, and then, you know, you get a 30-plus multiple on the earnings, and it's obviously the market is extrapolating at least some years of continued superior returns. That's just no way around it. It doesn't seem super expensive on like free cash flow, as pointing out yesterday. I mean, Microsoft and Meta are spending all their free cash flow. They're at like 50 times free cash flow.
Yeah, by the way, it's notable that so much of their free cash flow now is going towards CapEx, obviously.
It's just shifting it to NVIDIA.
Instead of it just going potentially towards shareholders in some way or other. And that has been a big shift for them.
Yeah.
But again, and where is it going? A lot of it's going to NVIDIA.
That's it. And, you know, so far the market's willing to kind of give everybody credit for what they're doing, whether it's collecting the money or spending the money. Although I do see some of the kind of bank shot AI infrastructure trades this week have a little bit of an air pocket. For example, I mean, Supermicro kind of been unable to get out of its way. But even if you look at Emerson Electric, Eaton Corp, two of these old line industrials that had kind of acquired the AI electrical build out kind of imprimatur, and then they've, you know, on okay or fine earnings, they did have significant declines this week. So I think that's the push-pull within this market.
That was also the sort of the point behind the downgrade of CAT earlier in the week.
Yes, exactly.
Apollo today. NVIDIA now has the biggest weight in the S&P 500 of any individual stock since the data began in 1981. The largest 10% of U.S. stocks now account for 76% of total U.S. market cap. That's the highest concentration ever. And the top 10 names in the S&P, the ones you all know, account for 40% of the index. If that doesn't scream concentration, now that's just the way it's been, and that's just the way it is, and that's the way it will be. Well, does that point to health or not?
It depends on your definition of health. But I want to counter with a really important point that I've made previously, and I'll ride till I die. NVIDIA aside, Apple aside, Microsoft is LinkedIn. Microsoft is Activision Blizzard. Amazon is Whole Foods. These companies, Microsoft is Nuance. These companies are not one company. Obviously, NVIDIA is one company. It's selling chips. But the rest of the Mag 7 are like 10 companies, 10 sizable companies, not random companies at the bottom of the Russell 1000, companies that were in the S&P 500, some that were in the S&P 100. So yes, it's fair to observe market concentration, et cetera, et cetera. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying the market is very top heavy.
Is it too concentrated?
Too concentrated defined how? I mean,
I just defined how. The largest 10% of U.S. stocks now account for 76% of market cap.
Yes, it's very top heavy. But if you view Microsoft as one company, then sure, it's very top heavy. If you view Microsoft as, obviously, it's got its huge software business.
We view it as Microsoft. I mean, if you want to break down every acquisition that every company has made and judge them all equally based on that, I mean, this is an exercise in futility.
Fine, but I'm providing some context for the fact that these companies contain other companies which were tens, if not hundreds of billions in size. And I think that's a fair observation.
I do think it's too concentrated, but I think the comment that it's too concentrated is irrelevant because it was too concentrated when the top 10 were 30%. And I can say all I want to about that, but I think...
This is a rumor with NVIDIA, but NVIDIA is is software. They sell their chips, they sell software, and they sell networking. They do have a moat because of these layers, but this disaggregated share everything, which is from a company called Vast AI, will actually widen that moat, if you will. So what that simply means, when you purchase a GPU, you also have to purchase compute together, but you may not use both of them. So it's actually thought of a great analogy with this. It's like using your data center, but you have your own house. We're building condos with data centers now. So now we can share. So if you're buying these GPUs, you can get more bang for your buck because you do not need to utilize or buy additional compute. So that is another layer that could just really intertwine and send NVIDIA higher, as if they didn't need another catalyst being this mega cap that it is.
But NVIDIA's up so much already, right? I mean, is there that much running room left, even with these innovations that you're talking about?
I absolutely believe so. It's one, we saw what happened with fiscal policy. We got clarity with that. That was an influx of cash instantly into the hyperscalers, and we see that they're spending it. And that also happened with the bill. There's some tax implications. That's also an influx of cash. They're spending it on NVIDIA, and NVIDIA now is creating this ecosystem where it's not only are you buying my GPUs, you're buying the software. You need this to make the model, you need this to train the model, you need this to service the model. And if this expansion happens with Vast AI, this will absolutely be huge for them, because now it's another layer that you are required to have, including even reoccurring services licenses. That's big.
So the knock valuation, the knock speculation. What about the knock of concentration? NVIDIA has the biggest weight in the S&P 500 of any individual stock since 1981, since data was being collected. The largest 10% of U.S. stocks now account for 76% of total U.S. market cap. That's the highest concentration in history. The top 10 names in the S&P account for 40% of the index. Does that give you any pause?
I think when people cite these numbers, and I've also heard Max Myers say that like 2 stocks are bigger than like Tokyo's entire stock market.
Max is going to love the shout out, by the way.
Yeah.
Anyway, please go ahead.
That we have to think about the earnings contribution. NVIDIA is producing incremental earnings at an incremental margin that tells you it's an incredibly scarce company. They're not making enough chips, and they are the center of the AI revolution. So I'm not surprised it's the biggest stock. I think from an earnings growth contribution, it's so big that those previous measurements aren't accurate.
Okay.
Second is that we know that the AI is progressing at a pace that it's delivering real benefits to companies. So companies are now going to see the benefits. I can't point to what it'll be, but it's probably margins. And so that's a story that should be broadening earnings performance.
And I'll end on NVIDIA because we constantly talk about them. They did hit an intraday high today, and that was driven by OpenAI's breakthrough AI model release and signals that Tesla may boost its tech spending. Those are 2 drivers helping fuel this name even higher. So, but it's still closed about 1% higher on the day and 5% on the week. John?
Well, Tim, to me, it's really about they're missing AI. So when it comes to Palantir and Microsoft, Godfather AI, Jensen, NVIDIA, you could continue to look at the growth next 2-3 years because we're talking about trillions that's going to be spent in the next 3 years. Apple's nowhere when it comes to AI. That's why the multiple is going to continue to be under focus because you don't have that that's now playing out. And I think when we were at WWDC in Cupertino, you left there thinking like, okay, was I just in Back to the Future? Because that fundamentally is the problem right now for Apple.
I mean, money flow is everything, right? And so all the negatives that you highlight, institutions are well aware of. It's why it's not as widely held a stock anymore, whereas it's still the most widely held stock in the retail complex. What do you think will make the retail constituent ultimately abandon it? Where most of them have it for 3-4 years, the cost base is so low they don't want to take the tax. But what would get the retail, the individual, to back away from their beloved Apple?
Look, if we go through, like I said, the next 6 months, 9 months, if we're sitting here at the end of the year and they haven't done an acquisition and AI is nowhere, and we're talking about iPhone 17, okay, we had a color that's orange instead of red, and it's not moving the needle, that's where you start to get nervous because it's my view, like tech stocks are going to be up another 20-25%. You don't want to miss that, but it's AI driven. The AI party, you do not want to look at that from the outside through the windows.
I think I love the fact that the NASDAQ made a new relative high to the S&P today. I love the fact that semis were actually very defensive, that there are drivers. I think the earnings season has been one that's continued to show there's nothing about the AI trade that's been at least undermined in terms of the spend itself. So.
All right, I hope you're all doing great today. NVIDIA finished the day about 1% higher. The big news for NVIDIA today is actually news about Tesla after Bloomberg reported that the company is discontinuing some of its own in-house chip development, and therefore they will rely more heavily on chips from other companies such as NVIDIA and AMD. Elon posted on X saying that it doesn't make sense for Tesla to divide its resources and scale two quite different AI chip designs. It appears that Tesla will use its own chips primarily for inference, while continuing to use chips from other companies for training. I think this is a positive development for both NVIDIA and Tesla. This week has been filled with a lot of positive news for NVIDIA. We learned that NVIDIA will not be subject to the 100% semiconductor tariff, as they have committed to investing hundreds of billions of dollars in US-based manufacturing. We saw the initial launch of GPT-5 from OpenAI, which will almost certainly result in rising compute demand. And we also learned that Jensen Huang will be speaking at GTC in Washington, D.C. on October 28th. Whenever Jensen speaks at a GTC event, he usually reveals something new and exciting, and he also usually announces large-scale projects that are specific to the region where the GTC event is being held. For example, at GTC Paris, Jensen announced many European sovereign AI factories, as well as many large-scale projects with European companies. And since this upcoming GTC event is in Washington, D.C., I wonder if we will get announcements of any new large-scale partnerships, either sovereign AI projects with the U.S. government or new large-scale commercial projects with U.S. companies. Be sure to mark your calendar for October 28th. I still think we are in the very early days of AI. Demand is extremely strong right now, and new use cases continue to be developed. We recently heard from all of NVIDIA's largest clients that they are raising their CapEx guidance, and some of them also said they expect significant CapEx in 2026. Will there be an overbuild of capacity at some point? Yes, probably at some point, but I honestly think we are at least 3 to 5 years away from something like that happening. This is not like the dot-com bubble, not at all. First, the major spenders in this AI revolution are extremely well capitalized with the deepest corporate balance sheets in the world. And second, most of these companies are not building out capacity in the hopes of eventually finding a use for it. Rather, they're seeing very strong demand from their paying customers, and that demand is far greater than supply. Just take Microsoft and Amazon, for example. They told us on their earnings calls that they have backlog of hundreds of billions of dollars that they have to deliver to their paying customers. In other words, they're already seeing a direct ROI on their AI investments, and demand from their paying customers is so strong that they simply cannot meet the demand. We have seen many new use cases developed and applications launched just in the last few months that will greatly increase the need for more compute. Just take Alphabet as an example. They're seeing growing demand for Gemini, Veo 3, all of their other AI tools and apps. And they recently unveiled Genie 3, which generates interactive 3D worlds from text prompts. Genie 3 is not available to the public yet, but it will eventually have massive implications for game development, entertainment, robotics, and many other industries. Alphabet is not blindly investing in AI infrastructure in the hope of eventually finding a use case for it. Rather, they already have multiple use cases as AI demand continues to grow. And I think we will see many more use cases developed in the years ahead. I also think that we are soon going to see a surge in compute demand as a result of agentic AI being introduced to the masses. Instead of just getting answers to their questions, users will now be able to prompt AI agents to complete tasks on their behalf. AI agents are just now starting to be rolled out to the general public. This is going to change society, and companies will need a lot of compute to make it happen. And that ultimately means more hardware from NVIDIA. I think this surge in compute demand will extend well into 2026. We get fiscal Q2 results from NVIDIA later this month, and I do expect NVIDIA to report strong numbers. That being said, I'm especially looking forward to NVIDIA's Q3 and Q4 results, as multiple positive factors should all be converging at once for NVIDIA. Blackwell Ultra production should really start to ramp substantially in September. Additionally, we should see revenue from certain sovereign AI deals start to show up in NVIDIA's Q3 and Q4 reports. Additionally, you may remember the spending bill that was signed into law this past July. Inside of that bill is a 100% expensing provision that will most likely lead to even more large orders from NVIDIA's largest clients. And we can start to see that show up in NVIDIA's Q3 and Q4 numbers. Additionally, we may see NVIDIA's H20 licenses get approved sometime in Q3 or Q4. And once those licenses are approved, NVIDIA can immediately start shipping its existing inventory of H20s, which would bring China revenue back into the picture. And on top of all of this, we have that oncoming wave of compute demand fueled by agentic AI, as I mentioned. And so all of that to say that there are many reasons why I'm especially looking forward to NVIDIA's Q3 and Q4 reports. I think the setup for NVIDIA in the second half of this year is very strong, as we have a convergence of multiple positive factors. Then next year in 2026, we have the expected launch of Vera Rubin, with a Vera CPU being NVIDIA's first custom CPU, containing 88 NVIDIA Olympus cores and custom designed to work in lockstep with with NVIDIA GPUs. Later in 2027, we have Rubin Ultra with a single NVL 576 system containing 576 GPU dies, for X the number of GPU dies in the current Blackwell systems. Then after that, we have FinVid in 2028. We have a clear data center product roadmap extending into 2028 with a new generation product release each year. And Jensen believes the world's computing CapEx will reach $1 trillion annually by 2030, meaning he's expecting an expanding total addressable market over the next 5 years. I continue to be bullish on NVIDIA due to the fundamentals of the company, both financial and technological, as well as due to what I'm seeing happen in the broader AI landscape. I genuinely think NVIDIA still has a lot of runway ahead of it, and I think this company will be worth substantially more in future years than it is today. At least that's my view of the situation. Remember to stay calm in this market. Remember to maintain a long-term perspective, and do not make any hasty or irrational decisions. With all of that being said, I hope you all have a great rest of the day, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts about NVIDIA in the comments below. Please leave a like on this video so more people will see it. And while you're down there, please consider subscribing. It's free, and you can always change your mind. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.